Jai Hind everyone, welcome to Chetan Bharat Learning. It feels so nice to be back and taking these classes in front of you face to face. Now, today's class we will cover like we do on every Wednesday. Today we will cover international relations related news that have shown up in newspapers from 2nd September to 9th September. Last lecture that I delivered via PPT format, couple of things that I want you to recall क्योंकि वो आज भी आपके काम आएंगी. Okay, first thing was, you remember the Baltic nation, 3 Baltic nations you remember जो Baltic Sea के ईस्टर्न कोस्ट पे आते हैं, कौन से थे? एस्टोनिया, लाटविया एंड थर्ड वन यू विल टेल मी इन द कमेंट्स. ऑलराइट, नाउ इसमें हमने एक चीज की थी कि एस्टोनिया इज नॉट बॉर्डरिंग विद बेलारूस. अब ऐसे तो पता नहीं कितनी सारी कंट्रीज आर नॉट बॉर्डरिंग सो मेनी अदर कंट्रीज. आर वी सपोज्ड टू रिमेंबर ऑल ऑफ देम? नो, बट द रीजन दैट हैज बिकम वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. यू रिमेंबर हमने पिछले 2 क्लासेस में किया है कि बेलारूस हैज बीन वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, एक्टिव हुआ है, सेंसिटिव एरिया हुआ है. एंड व्हाई? बिकॉज ऑफ वहां पे जो पॉलिटिकल क्राइसिस चल रहा है, द लास्ट डिक्टेटर ऑफ यूरोप, ही इज नॉट रेडी टू कंसीड द थिंग कि हाँ मेरी पावर लूज हो गई है, पीपल हैव कम ऑन स्ट्रीट. तो उस वजह से वो एरिया बहुत सेंसिटिव हो गया है. नाउ नोबडी, आई वंडर इफ GS2 में दे आर एवर गोइंग टू आस्क यू दिस क्वेश्चन that what is the Belarus issue and blah blah blah. But whenever any area becomes sensitive, any area becomes important, then you invariably see a question in prelims, map based question. So you must remember ये वाला Baltic region वाला मैप अच्छे से करना है आपने. Now second thing that we covered last week, उससे related today we are also going to cover one more thing. वो क्या है? Mediterranean Sea में I told you that there is this NATO country called Turkey, और फिर एक कंट्री है ग्रीस, and there is one more nation यहाँ पर छोटू सा called Cyprus. Now historically, last lecture में हमने डिस्कस किया था, we discussed it in the last lecture that historically ग्रीस में साइप्रस में, I beg your pardon, ग्रीस के लोग रहते and टर्की, यहाँ के लोग, एथनिक लोग यहाँ पे रहते थे. However, because there were just like श्रीलंका, हमने श्रीलंका किया डिटेल में, या हम करेंगे eventually, that there are Sinhali people and there are Tamil people. Similarly here there are Greek people and there were Turkish people. Whenever 2 communities live, either they live in harmony or some sort of conflict. So here also conflicts started to emerge slowly, and by 70s Greece along with यहाँ की खुद की आर्मी और कुछ ऐसे सिनिस्टर सा प्लान बना के ग्रीस ट्राई टू कंडक्ट अ कू हियर. कू का मतलब क्या होता है? दैट आप आर्मी से मिलते हो एंड द एग्जिस्टिंग गवर्नमेंट आप उसको रिमूव कर देते हो एंड देन यू इंस्टॉल अ न्यू गवर्नमेंट व्हिच इज सपोर्टिव टू यू. व्हेन ग्रीस ट्राइड दैट, सो टर्की इन्वेडेड साइप्रस. कू तो फेल हो गया, बट एक चीज हो गई, वो क्या है कि साइप्रस जो है उसका एक पार्ट, ठीक है, अ पार्ट ऑफ साइप्रस, इट was invaded by Turkey and is in Turkey's control, and वो उसको क्या बोलते हैं कि ये हमारी ही एक्सटेंशन है, टर्की की ही एक रिपब्लिक है ये अंदर, ऑटोनोमस रीजन टाइप ऑफ एरिया. कंट्रीज लाइक ग्रीस डू नॉट एक्नॉलेज दिस थिंग. वो बोलते हैं कि ये इनका इलीगल ऑक्यूपेशन है, और वो बोलते हैं कि हमारी कंट्री है, हमारा ऑटोनोमस रीजन हो गया एक तरह का. Now this has been some sort of, मतलब मैंने आपको बहुत लूजली बताया because you don't have to get into nitty-gritties of that. The idea is that Turkey and Greece, they are getting into a conflict in near Cyprus, in Cyprus and near Cyprus. Now, अब क्यों? Why is this in news recently? So you have to see it from this point of view. Although we covered it in last class, say this is Turkey, then Turkey's extended economic zone would be somewhere here. But if this is Cyprus and Turkey considers this part as its own, then its extended economic zone would be somewhere, say here. So Turkey would come here and start doing energy exploration, mineral exploration, and other nations will object to that why are you crossing your limit? You are not supposed to cross this line. because your border, your extended economic zone ends here. But according to Turkey, because Turkey doesn't end here, this area is essentially Turkey's. So this whole area becomes Turkey's extended economic zone. So Greece objected to Turkey's overexcitement in Mediterranean, and France has also joined this dispute. All right, USA has been asking all these nations to solve this issue amicably, but these three members, Greece, France, and Turkey, they are not listening to USA, regardless of the fact that all three are NATO members. So what does that mean? That USA's control over USA's hegemony over NATO or control over NATO is at least symbolically is declining because they are not listening to USA. So today we will talk about all of that. All right. So that is another thing that we covered last week, though, but I quickly wanted to revise that. And third thing that we covered, very important last week, was BRICS Innovation Mission. BRICS Innovation Mission. So you remember that so many countries, starting with the United States of America, they started having problem, including India now, they started having problem with China's Huawei, something like this, ऐसा ही है कोई company, Huawei 5G technology. तो अभी China says that all these BRICS nations, they should get together and they should develop software and hardware and equipments and technology for 5G 5G technology. अब है क्या, आने वाले टाइम में, in coming days, cities, the smart cities are going to be 5G enabled. If you want smart electricity system throughout your city, if you want smart traffic system, if you want the whole system to work on Internet of Things kind of model, that Raghav sir will cover with you in science and tech classes. But if you want everything to be automated, then you need a minimum amount of internet speed, a minimum amount of data speed, a minimum amount of क्या बोलते हैं उसको, latency and so on. So वो सब करने के लिए चाइना बोलता है कि let's collaborate, because countries are going to do it anyway. That is the future, and any country that will not work on Internet of Things will be left behind. अब चाइना बोलता है ऐसा करते हैं, but हुआ क्या था, लास्ट वीक हमने कवर किया था, that Brazil was slightly apprehensive. South Africa was pretty indifferent. South Africa may join China, may not join China in this. Russia was pretty accommodative. Russia had a little less reservation about China's plan. India had serious issues. India ने तो Chinese apps भी ban की हैं. We have banned Chinese apps. We are not getting along with China on this model. Why? Because we have some serious crisis of security and sovereignty. It is believed that in the garb of these projects, in the garb of 5G projects, China does snooping over countries. China पूरा control बना के रखता है. So news हमने क्या की थी पिछले week? Last week what we covered was that instead of collaborating with China over 5G technology, we have better options like UK 5G. वो क्या था, UK 5G group, something like that. वो क्या था, that UK said that 10 democracies, UK ने, जिसमें India being one, they should collaborate. They should work on equipment manufacture, equipment production, एक दूसरे को 5G equipments and technology and software and hardware, हर चीज पे हम काम करें, like-minded countries. So idea was कि BRICS Innovation Mission launch करने की बात की जा रही थी, और उसमें India had its reservation. So this is what we covered last week. Quickly revise हो गया होगा. Those who have not watched last week's lecture, of course it's on our portal. Those who have not watched last week's lecture, I would suggest that you do that. इससे आप कंफ्यूज मत हो जाना कि क्विकली मैंने क्या बोल दिया. This quick revision was essentially meant for those who have watched last week's lecture. Now let's start today's lecture. First thing, हिंदू में आर्टिकल आया था on 2nd of September. Suhasini Heather whenever she writes, when Suhasini Haidar writes about Middle East in particular, Hindu में normally इनके articles आते हैं, I would suggest that you read that article. Her view, her ideas on Middle East are pretty much in sync with India's policy, तो अच्छा है आपके exam point of view से. Now, what was the news? That United Nations Security Council rejects Pakistan's attempt to name India on terror list. From exams point of view, we must know what UNSC is. We have covered the entire United Nations in detail, and you know that UNSC is the core group of United Nations. But our P5 members हैं, जिसको मैं आपको बोल रहा था repeatedly, P3 plus P2, P3 being, and yet another manifestation that how it's not P5 but P3 plus P2. Even in this case, this has happened. What? USA, UK, France, 3 permanent members, and China and Russia. So there is this list existing. It's called UNSC 1267. This, you know, it is a list, एक पूरी list है जिसमें क्या किया जाता है. It was set up in 1999. इसमें क्या किया जाता है? दाइश और अल कायदा, these are terrorist organizations. Terrorist individuals को, organizations को, supporters को, they are named in this list. Once they are named in this list, that means वो United Nation की लिस्ट में terrorist count होते हैं. According to United Nations, this list वो terrorist हैं, global terrorist हो गए in a way. Now this list is full of Pakistani individuals, Pakistani companies, Pakistani associations. Recently, Pakistan tried to name few Indian citizens, individuals in this list. अभी recently फिर दोबारा एक बार उन्होंने attempt किया to name few Indians in this list. Pakistan accused that these people have been financing, these people have been supporting terrorist attacks in Pakistan. These Indian men, they have been trying to attempt terrorist attacks in Pakistan. अब how does this thing work? ये होता क्या है? रेजोल्यूशन 1267. तो फर्स्टली तो आपको प्रीलिम्स में क्वेश्चन कैन शो अप दैट रेजोल्यूशन 1267 इज रिलेटेड टू, एक आ जाएगा ग्लोबल हंगर, सेकंड टेररिस्ट लिस्ट, थर्ड इंटरनेशनल लेबर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, फोर्थ समथिंग लाइक दैट. सो यू मस्ट रिमेंबर दैट इट हैज टू डू विद टेररिस्ट, दाइश एंड अल कायदा. अब होता क्या है इसमें? हाउ डज दिस थिंग वर्क? कमिटी, ऑल these members जो यूनाइटेड नेशन सिक्योरिटी काउंसिल के members हैं, they are proposed a name. A name can be proposed by any member of United Nations to United Nations Security Council, which has 5 permanent members and non-permanent members. India being one, जैसे हमने बात की थी, बनेगा. ठीक, तो क्या था कि ये जो नॉन परमानेंट मेंबर्स हैं और परमानेंट मेंबर्स हैं, दे आर प्रपोज्ड अ नेम बाय एनी मेंबर ऑफ यूनाइटेड नेशन. नाउ दिस कमिटी, यूनाइटेड नेशन सिक्योरिटी काउंसिल, डिसाइड्स वेदर दैट इंडिविजुअल, जो नाम यहाँ से प्रपोज किया गया है, वो टेररिस्ट है कि नहीं है. हाउ डू वी इंश्योर कि यहाँ पे उसको मानेंगे कि नहीं मानेंगे? वाया कंसेंसस. कंसेंसस का मतलब क्या हुआ? दैट कंसेंसस का मतलब हुआ कि नॉट थ्रू मेजॉरिटी, नॉट लाइक कि 3 are saying yes, this person is a terrorist, and 2 are saying no, this person is not a terrorist, then we are going to call that person a terrorist or name that person into this list. No, it has to essentially be through consensus. That means everyone should agree. So 1267, which is a list of terrorists, is a global list which is full of Pakistani and Indians. के लिए जो इन्होंने अभी recently बोला था, तो क्या हुआ है? Consensus नहीं बना. So things that we must remember वो यही है कि UNS, पहले तो मतलब I strongly feel that the question is going to be on a very macro level, that this has been in news recently. That's it. Okay. But if we must cover it in details, तो आपको ये याद रखना है first that any member state can submit proposal. तो कल को tomorrow Venezuela can can propose a name that कि ये बंदा जो है या ये एसोसिएशन है टेररिस्ट ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है, अफगानिस्तान कैन डू इट, इंडिया कैन डू इट एंड सो ऑन। तो इस तरह से आप कर सकते हो किसी भी ग्रुप को, किसी भी एंटिटी को, किसी भी इंडिविजुअल को, एंड देन दे मीट एंड डिसीजन ऑन वेदर किसी को इस लिस्ट में डालना है या डीलिस्टिंग करनी है इज अडॉप्टेड बाय कंसेंसस, एंड एनी कंट्री व्हिच रेजेस ऑब्जेक्शन इन 5 days, उनको आ गया, नेम आ गया और चाइना ने 5 days के अंदर बोल दिया कि नो वी आर नॉट लिस्टिंग दिस कंट्री, और सॉरी आई बेग योर पार्डन, वी आर नॉट लिस्टिंग दिस इंडिविजुअल एज अ टेररिस्ट, तो फिर उनका नाम इस लिस्ट में नहीं आएगा। ऑलराइट, और बेस क्या होना चाहिए, व्हाट मस्ट बी द बेस, ऐसे तो कोई भी किसी का भी नाम प्रपोज कर देगा, यू मस्ट गिव एविडेंस। यहाँ पे भी ये हुआ, दिस थिंग हैपेंड हियर एज वेल, दैट व्हेन पाकिस्तान प्रपोज these names that these Indian nationals are terrorists and they are conducting or supporting terrorist activities in Pakistan, so the UNSC committee, this 1267 committee, this committee asked Pakistan to furnish proof। तो आपको proof क्या furnish करने होते हैं, that this person or this company or this organization is participating in financing, planning, facilitating, or these kind of things जो भी होती है support system to terrorist activities linked to ISIL or Al Qaeda or any such cell which has its affiliation with Al Qaeda or ISIL which is Daesh, जिसको हम आपको करवाएंगे जब मिडिल ईस्ट करेंगे। So that is one thing, learning outcome is that we should know 1267 United Nation का this thing। अब मैं जो coming back to that thing that I told you that there exists this P3 and P2 within P5, that although इसकी meetings जो होती हैं वो होती हैं closed session, as in P5 countries they sit in a room and it's not the meeting is not happening out there for everyone to see, चाहे वो बड़ी क्लोज सी होती है, लेकिन ऐसा बाद में रिपोर्ट्स तो आई जाती हैं कि P3 USA, UK एंड फ्रांस दे हैड क्लियर ऑब्जेक्शन कि आप इंडिया के इन बंदों को आप टेररिस्ट मत डिक्लेयर करो, बट P2 रशिया एंड चाइना दे वर नॉट ऑल दैट अगेंस्ट दिस थिंग। तो इंडिया के लिए थोड़ा सा प्रॉब्लमेटिक है रशिया का इंडिया के साथ में इस तरह का एलियनेशन होना। खैर नॉनदलेस लेट्स मूव फॉरवर्ड। नेक्स्ट जो न्यूज हमारे पास इंपॉर्टेंट थी विच वाज ऑन 3rd of September वो था कि आई एम सॉरी दैट लाइक इट विल टेक अनदर 5-10 days फॉर माय थ्रोट टू गेट कंप्लीटली बेटर। ओके, नोविचॉक ये क्या है, एक नर्व एजेंट है, एक केमिकल वेपन है जो which kills you, okay, but how this chemical agent works, how poisonous it is, and then so on, this science side of this Novichok shall be covered by Raghav sir in the subsequent class. Today for me there are couple of things which are very important from IR point of view, so let's quickly take a look. Why is this in news? Recently there was this guy in Germany who is considered to be critic of Vladimir Putin, who is the head of Russia. अब ऐसा माना गया कि एक जो पर्सन है जो रशिया के प्रेसिडेंट व्लादिमीर पुतिन का क्रिटिक है उसको जर्मनी में पॉइजन दे दिया गया। अभी क्या है कि वो बर्लिन के हॉस्पिटल में कोमा में है। तो पॉइजन जो दिया गया है वो दिया गया है नोविचॉक। नोविचॉक क्या है, सोवियत यूनियन टाइप का एक पॉइजन बोल दो, है ना, केमिकल वेपन काइंड ऑफ जो उस समय डेवलप किया गया था। एंड नोविचॉक का मतलब न्यू कमर है एंड इट इज a very toxic nerve agent. So as far as this thing is concerned, that how toxic it is believed to be 10 times more toxic than one of the most poisonous substances like VX gas. So as far as the Novichok is concerned, this much information is sufficient. Beyond that shall be covered by Raghav sir in Science and Tech. Here I am telling you कि IR में हमें यहाँ पे क्या आ सकता है एग्जाम में, both in prelims and mains. Now, during Cold War, like we have studied Cold War already, there was this race to the bottom, ना कि हाँ मतलब countries developing more and more chemical weapons, especially USA and USSR, companies developing more and more nuclear weapons. तो उसमें क्या हुआ कि there was this race जिसमें बहुत dangerous weapons generate किए गए। so much so कि you can kill the entire humanity. इतने ज़्यादा खतरनाक weapons, very dangerous ones. Then there was this convention, वो लेके आए गए. We brought this convention and उसका क्या agenda था? That what are we even doing? We must get rid of all the chemical weapons. Number one, we must stop developing more such chemical weapons. और ये verifiable होना चाहिए. This thing should be verifiable that any country and every country एक convention बनाते हैं that every country should be a signatory to that, and then once you become signatory to that, you take a vow that we will cooperate 100%, we will dismantle all our chemical weapons, we will not make further chemical weapons, we will not support a third country developing more chemical weapons, we will not support our industries to develop chemical weapons, and so on. The idea is to protect humanity from the sometimes things go blow out of proportion and a normal localized war may eventually blow into a full-fledged chemical war. तो इस चीज से बचने के लिए तो इसमें ये देखिए आप जरा इशू क्या है कि weaponization of chemical is banned under chemical weapons convention. So from our perspective, two things are important. First is that what is chemical weapons convention, and second is who looks after this convention. Chemical weapon convention जो है इसको चलाता कौन है? तो this organization for the prohibition of chemical weapons, this organization is important. So हम यही दो चीजें देखेंगे. तो first thing is कि Novichok जो है earlier it was not in the list of those banned banned chemicals, but recently it was added in the convention list of controlled substances last year only. तो 1990 के बाद अदरवाइज 1990s के बाद लिस्ट में सारे केमिकल वेपन्स आ गए थे. आई वांट यू टू डू वन थिंग बिकॉज प्रीवियस ईयर पेपर्स में कुछ आया हुआ है. आप ये चेक करना ये क्या है. SARIN. You Google it and I'll talk to you about it in the next class. Anyways, SARIN, sarin. Okay. Now you understand the idea that all the countries getting together and they're like, what are we even doing? We should get rid of all the chemical weapons and we should stop making them in the future as well. So let's make a all-encompassing list of all the chemicals which should be banned. Let's have a convention, एक treaty करते हैं. Let's make an organization which will make sure that this treaty, जो भी इसके अंदर के clauses हैं, they are being implemented throughout the world. Simple. एक body बना दी. उस बॉडी को चलाने के लिए एक और एग्जीक्यूटिव बॉडी बना दी और उसका पर्पस क्या है? एंटायर अर्थ को, सारे नेशंस को केमिकल वेपन से बचाना. नाउ फर्स्ट थिंग इसमें जो इंपॉर्टेंट है कि व्हाट इज केमिकल वेपन्स कन्वेंशन. सो इट इज अ multilateral treaty that bans chemical weapons, and not only that, it requires their destruction within specified period of time. That the existing ones should be done away with as well. ये नहीं कि आप और नहीं बनाओगे. Your existing stockpile should also be dismantled. Now इसको implement कौन कर रहा है? CWC is being implemented by OPCW. इस पे question has shown up couple of times in the previous year papers prelims में. Why? Because this organization was given Nobel Prize a few years ago. Okay, so we should know a few things about this organization. First thing is that it's headquartered in The Hague. Okay, and 2013 में it won Nobel Peace Prize. Okay, CWC जो ये treaty है, Chemical Weapons Convention, it is open to all the nations. Every nation is invited to join it, and essentially every nation must join it. सब कंट्रीज को इसको ज्वाइन करना चाहिए और इससे कंप्लाई भी करना चाहिए. Why would you want to develop chemical weapon? Do you want to destroy just another fellow human beings? So it is open to all, and right now 193 nations have joined it, India being one. किन 3 ने इसको ज्वाइन नहीं किया है वो मैं आपको बता दूंगा. इजराइल ने ट्रीटी साइन किया हुआ है ये वाला. It has signed, but in its own parliament it has not ratified अभी. तो इजराइल को भी एक स्टेप और आगे लेना चाहिए. 3 states जिन्होंने ज्वाइन ही नहीं किया, they are rogue states essentially. One is North Korea, one is South Sudan, and third is Egypt. I think the day Egypt will join it, Israel will ratify it, or the day Israel will join it, ratify it, Egypt will also join it. In any case, not like these countries are going to use chemical weapons, but still there is this balance of deterrence with each other. तो अपने को क्लियर है केमिकल वेपन्स कन्वेंशन का नंबर 1 थिंग, इसका एम क्लियर है. नंबर 2, इसको इंप्लीमेंट कौन कर रहा है? द इंप्लीमेंटिंग बॉडी इज OPCW, एंड थर्ड थिंग इज दैट दीज कंट्रीज हैव नॉट जॉइंड इट. करती क्या है ये? लाइक आई सेड, व्हाट इज द पर्पस? सो इट एसेंशियली प्रोहिबिट्स developing or producing or retaining chemical weapons. Number 1. Second, direct or indirect transfer of chemical weapon. Imagine China giving its chemical weapon indirectly to North Korea. That is also prohibited. China indirectly giving its chemical weapon to Pakistan. Not prohibited. उसके अगेंस्ट CWC में फिर प्रोसीडिंग्स होंगी केमिकल वेपन कन्वेंशन में. वेपनाइजेशन ऑफ केमिकल वेपन्स. आर्मी जो है वो केमिकल वेपन्स का इस्तेमाल नहीं करेगी, वेपन्स नहीं बनेंगे. थर्ड, फोर्थ, encouraging or inducing other states to engage in CWC prohibited activity. Any activity that this organization prohibits, if you are encouraging other countries to do it, कि कोई बात नहीं कर ले, that is unacceptable. Now, more important, that is also important कि ये organization है क्या, ये करती क्या है, और उससे ज़्यादा important है this organization which is the implementing body of CWC, which is Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons, OPCW. इसको आपने याद रखना है. This is the implementing body for CWC. We tend to repeat the same thing over and over again because again we have realized that when you are listening to this lecture and watching this lecture and you get to hear the same thing at least 5-6 times in a lecture, once you will write your MCQs or answers, we are hoping that you will rewrite these lines जो हम बार बार रिपीट करते हैं, वो आपको दिमाग में फ्रीज हो जाएंगे. So that is the purpose. OPCW में 193 members हैं, like I said, and it sees global endeavor to permanently and verifiably eliminate chemical weapons. So इसके पर्पस क्या है? OPCW का पर्पस क्या है? Organization for Prohibition of Chemical Weapon का पर्पस नंबर 1, destroying all existing chemical weapons. Number 1, destroying all existing chemical weapons. Second, monitoring chemical industry to prevent chemical weapons from re-emerging. Alright, तो जितने भी chemical industry है उसको भी monitor करना so that we do not have re-emergence of chemical weapons. Number 1 is existing को खत्म कर दिया. Third, providing assistance and protection to state parties against chemical threat. A country may be living under a threat of some other country कि यार ये हमारे ऊपर chemical war कर सकते हैं. For example, in early 2000, 2, 3, 4, in these years, there was this एक न्यूज बहुत चलती थी, इवेंचुअली वो फिजल आउट होगी. वो ये था कि यूएसए में एंथ्रेक्स अटैक हुआ है. That there is this anthrax attack on USA after 9/11, that people open parcel and then it is a chemical laden parcel and people die. So anthrax attack भी एक ऐसे chemical weapon के अंडर ही आ रहा था, and then USA was इसको बहुत उठा रहा था इशू को, that we are victim of chemical attack. So fourth is fostering international cooperation and strengthening implementation of convention to promote peaceful use of chemistry. Now you don't want chemical weapon doesn't mean that you do not want chemistry at all or chemicals at all. So how to make sure that any dual purpose technology, anything that can be used as a weapon as well as for नॉन वेपन पर्पस, उसको हाउ डू यू मेक श्योर कि ओनली सिविलियन यूज के लिए ही केमिकल इंडस्ट्री बिल्ड कर रही है, तो उस चीज को भी इंश्योर करने के लिए OPCW बहुत काम करती है। ओके चले आगे। सो आई होप यू अंडरस्टैंड अच्छे से कि आपको आ जाएगा GS2 और GS3 में क्वेश्चन व्हाट इज OPCW, व्हाट आर इट्स ऑब्जेक्टिव्स एंड डिस्कस दिस एंड दैट, तो वी शुड नो दैट। नेक्स्ट वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, बिपिन रावत जी जो हमारे हैं आर्मी के जनरल, उन्होंने स्टेटमेंट दी थी एंड अगेन इट शोड ऑन हिंदू पेपर में भी आया था, इंडियन एक्सप्रेस में भी था। ही सेड दैट Quad should ensure freedom of navigation in Indian Ocean. What is important for us? What is Quad? Second, freedom of navigation in Indian Ocean. These two ideas are important for us for exams point of view, both prelims and mains. So let's take a look. Before getting into this thing, before actually getting into this issue, I quickly wanted to discuss some geography with you. This area is Indo-Pacific. All right, इसको हम Indo-Pacific बोल रहे हैं. This Indian Ocean and then ये Pacific Ocean वाला area. Now we have seen something which is that China has become very assertive in Indo-Pacific. How? Number one, we covered this theory when we were covering India-China called string of Pearl, wherein China is making some centers, 10 centers around India, because India being the major power here in Indian Ocean, इस तरह से एक सेंटर वो बना रहा है so that it can cover India, naval bases, air force bases, यहाँ पे submarine base and then so on, इस तरह से। तो Indo area पे China is becoming very assertive, and as far as this area is concerned, this Eastern China, Eastern Japan and then Pacific area is concerned, this here also China is becoming very assertive. How? So in addition to string of pearl, we also covered one more thing which was South China Sea dispute, जहां पे हमने किया था कि ताइवान से नीचे और इंडोनेशिया से ऊपर, वियतनाम के यहाँ और फिलीपींस के इधर, ये वाला जो एरिया है, this area is South China Sea. China is taking South China Sea as its backyard swimming pool. इधर कुछ आइलैंड्स बना दिए, यहाँ पे 9 लाइन बना दी कि दिस एरिया इज हिस्टोरिकली आर्स. सिमिलरली यहाँ पे अब हाइड्रोकार्बन एक्सप्लोरेशन कर दी. समटाइम्स चाइना इधर बहुत ज्यादा स्ट्रॉन्ग नेविगेशन कंट्रोल करता है. चाइना कंट्रोल्स द नेविगेशन ऑफ अदर कंट्रीज, द लिटिल वंस, एंड देन इज एक्टिंग वेरी एग्रेसिवली हियर. On top of that, China is also having water dispute East China Sea में with Japan. Now Australia is here. Australia also feels equally vulnerable. Tomorrow China may say that Australia was also Chinese property once 500 years ago. So in order to understand Quad, we must understand this thing. A very aggressive neo imperialistic kind of rise of China. This country. अब ये कंट्री बहुत ज्यादा एग्रेसिवली इस एरिया में ऑपरेट कर रही है. Now, in order to curtail China, in order to curtail its aggressive rise, as long as China is progressing, nobody has any problem, especially India. We shouldn't have any problem, but not at the cost of our self-interest, not at the cost of our national interest or our security. This area becomes very important because what happens, यहाँ से Chinese trade जो पूरी दुनिया में जाता है, इधर मलक्का स्ट्रेट से जाता है, MALACCA मलक्का स्ट्रेट, इधर से ट्रेड जाता है. and this area is so important that trade through this area goes to Latin America, trade through this area, all the way South Africa and Latin America, trade through this area goes to Africa. Chinese trade through this area goes to Arab world, to India, to Europe, oh sorry, I beg your pardon, yeah, from there to Europe to Australia, Oceania and so on. तो ये एरिया बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. So much so it is said that trade through Malacca is multiple times more than trade through Panama Canal. Trade through Malacca is multiple times more than trade through Suez Canal. So this area has become very, very important. Now we will see what Quad is. Quad is Australia. Although मैंने आपको करवाया ये in the PCM batch that is going on abhi few days ago, but not everybody is enrolled in PCM batch. Some people are enrolled in current affairs only, so I'm covering it here again, and it's one of the essential topics. ये चलता ही रहेगा. So here Australia, USA, here Japan and India. These four countries, they have kind of collaborated, और इनको चारों को हम बोलते हैं क्वाड. तो these countries, they want to ensure freedom of navigation. तो यही बिपिन रावत जी बोल रहे हैं. He is playing quad card कि China should understand that if it becomes overly aggressive here on the maritime region, then Japan, USA, Australia and India will collaborate essentially. अब ये हाया कहाँ से है थोड़ा सा देख लें. तो क्वाड ग्रुपिंग है क्या? इट्स अ क्वाड्रिलेटरल. क्वाड स्टैंड्स फॉर ऐसे क्वाड्रिलेटरल जो होता है सिक्योरिटी डायलॉग इंक्लूडिंग जापान, इंडिया, यूएसए एंड ऑस्ट्रेलिया. एंड इन सब का चारों का एक कॉमन पर्पस क्या है? थोड़ा डेमोक्रेटिक वर्ल्ड ऑर्डर बना के रखना. द कॉमन ग्राउंड इज डेमोक्रेटिक नेशंस एंड कॉमन इंटरेस्ट ऑफ अनहिंडर्ड मैरीटाइम ट्रेड एंड सिक्योरिटी. बिल्कुल अनहिंडर्ड मैरीटाइम ट्रेड एंड सिक्योरिटी, नॉट लाइक कि one country is acting like a big brother in the entire Indo-Pacific the way China is trying to do. This idea of Quad was in the beginning proposed by Japanese Prime Minister who recently resigned due to health reasons, Shinzo Abe. तो उन्होंने जो है ये आइडिया दिया था 2007 में, but in the beginning it wasn't a quadrilateral. Japan was up for it, USA was up for it, India of course was up for it, but because of Chinese reservation in the beginning, Australia was not all that sure about it. Australia had its reservation, but eventually Australia also joined. अब इसकी significance क्या है क्वाड की? पहला तो यही है, like-minded countries जो हैं एक जैसी, they are collaborating. What are they trying to ensure? Open and free Indo-Pacific. Now you know what is Indo-Pacific. This is Indo-Pacific, open and free. सब लोग ट्रेड करें, किसी एक का कंट्रोल ना हो unnecessary. And interaction among India, Australia, Japan and USA. इस क्या है ना कि otherwise भी इन चार नेशंस के बीच में इंटरेक्शन चली रही है. Otherwise as well the interaction between these, among these four nations has been going on. This is one another platform. Not like that the interaction between these four nations is limited to this thing only. For example, हम एक चीज करेंगे, RIMPAC. Here also these countries interact with each other. So this is the idea. How does China view it? China essentially sees Quad as Asian NATO. उसको लगता है कि यार ये आपने बनाया चाइना को कंटेल करने के लिए, चाइना को कंट्रोल करने के लिए है. कि that until the day the trade was happening in favor of USA, everything was fine, and until the day USA was global power, everything was fine. The day we launched OBOR and we thought that we will make throughout the world, we will make seaports and we will join the whole world through maritime Silk Route. That day you envision Quad so that you can contain China militarily. तो ये क्या है? एशियन नेटो है. अब आप बोलोगे सर नेटो क्या है? वो भी आज करेंगे अभी थोड़ी देर में. ऑलराइट. So, but nonetheless, अपने को पता हो कि idea was mooted by Japanese Prime Minister. All four these nations, they do not. Our viewpoint is not that we want to contain China. Our viewpoint is that we want to contain any nation which is against the freedom of navigation. There should be a democratic world order as far as the high seas are concerned. Next topic. Turkey, Greece, start, talk, blah, 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 blah. वी हैव डिस्कस दिस टॉपिक इन डिटेल इन द लास्ट क्लास. इसमें बस एक चीज जो इम्पोर्टेंट हाईलाइट होती है वो है नेटो. थोड़ा सा हम इसको देख लेते हैं इस क्लास में कि नेटो क्या है, बिल्कुल ब्रीफली, बिकॉज आई हैव ऑलरेडी कवर्ड इट इन अ कोल्ड वॉर्स क्लास. देयर आर 30 मेंबर्स इन नेटो. है क्या ये you have to understand that it has two sides to it, political side and military side. All right, so we are coming to that in a while. There are 30 members, the last being Macedonia here, North Macedonia. 2020 में उसने join किया है. I would suggest that you quickly look at it in the map, so you should know that North Macedonia is a member. कौन सी countries member बन सकती है? What all countries can be member of NATO? Of course, नॉर्थ अमेरिका तो है ही, एंड यूरोपियन नेशन. एनी यूरोपियन नेशन कैन बी अ मेंबर ऑफ नेटो प्रोवाइडेड that it stands for that values that NATO stands for, number 2, and it meets the criteria that NATO sets for, criteria जो set करता है. तो ये आपके 30 members हैं. मैं आपको क्यों बता रहा हूँ? Because if you look at it, Turkey joined it in 1952. Turkey is the member. So is Greece 1952, and so is France 1949, one of the founding members. All right, तो ये तीनों मेंबर है नेटो के जो आजकल एक्टिव हुए हैं वहां पे. यू शुड नो दैट. सेकेंड थिंग, अब इसमें है क्या, नेटो करता क्या है? यू मे नॉट बी एबल टू सी द प्रिंट क्लियरली. डोंट वरी अबाउट इट, यू विल गेट द पीडीएफ्स. जो हमारे एनरोल्ड स्टूडेंट्स हैं, ये छोटा फॉन्ट इसलिए बिकॉज आई हैव टेकन इट फ्रॉम नेटोज ऑफिशियल वेबसाइट, तो उन्होंने बड़ा छोटा छोटा लिखा हुआ था. नॉनदलेस, क्या 2 साइड्स हैं नेटो की? एक है पॉलिटिकल, एक है मिलिटरीली. व्हाट इज द पॉलिटिकल साइड? तो नेटो एसेंशियली बिलीव्स इन डेमोक्रेसी, और दैट्स व्हाट इट वुड लाइक टू पोर्ट्रे. ठीक, इट एसेंशियली बिलीव्स इन डेमोक्रेसी एंड defense and security related issues should be solved through discussion and consensus, and conflicts should be avoided. तो political side में अपना ये बोलते हैं, and militarily side में basic idea is that all these members should collaborate and form one army. सबने अपने अपने troops contribute किए, equipment contribute किए, military supplies contribute की, and then you have NATO forces. NATO का there is this very strong sophisticated structure, that nuclear structure of NATO, military structure of NATO. NATO also has its own equipments. NATO also has its own military equipments, but largely it depends on countries contributing theirs. So है क्या, idea क्या है? Collective defense. How does Albania ensure that no other country, कोई भी country, उसको लेके that Albania seems like a very weak and small country, let me attack Albania and take over Albania. How can it ensure that? Through collective security, that if I attack Albania, I am actually attacking these 30 countries, and similarly other country, and similarly other countries. So this way you are ensuring peace throughout the world, because you have formed these groupings wherein these countries will be there to protect one of its members. However, the problem starts to arise when this organization, NATO as an organization, they start to attack countries. All right, but nonetheless, this was the idea कि crisis management को क्या करना है, manage कैसे करना है. It will be carried out through collective defense. Essentially idea क्या रहेगा इसका? Washington Treaty बोलते हैं इसको. Essentially idea है to prevent conflicts, but if there is a conflict, then militarily NATO is committed to peaceful resolution, but if that doesn't work, then NATO will attack you. Last, very very important, Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Why was it in news? Because SCO defense ministers and foreign ministers की एक recently kind of meeting हुई रशिया में जो चल रही है. तो अभी recently what has happened in the meet, what discussions have happened, these are not important, but there are a couple of things that are very important. First thing is we must know what SCO is, number 1. Second thing, इसके members. Third, इसका analysis. So today I am going to cover analysis with you as far as SCO is concerned. But I have noticed that most of the जो most of the notes out there or most of the lectures out there or even websites out there are not giving you SEO analysis of SEO. They are just talking about why is it formed, when was it formed, what is the purpose, this and that. So जो मैं आज आपको बताऊंगा, that is going to be very important for you from exams point of view. Now, first thing is SEO के बारे में, इसके member कौन कौन है? 8 nations are members. Russian Federation, ठीक, this is the SEO's map. Republic of Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Kyrgyz Republic, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, China, Pakistan, and India. So first thing that you can derive from here is that this organization is essentially geographically कहाँ पे based है? Central Asia और अगर Russia, if we consider Russia, then Eastern Europe, China, ये वाला area. Alright, this is the geography of SEO. Now, why this organization? What is the purpose? Everything about it. Quickly, ध्यान से 2 minutes, please pay some attention. Idea क्या है? That China wanted a very peaceful neighborhood. China को लगता है that it already has so many disputes going on around the world, so at least my neighborhood should be peaceful. So China comes up with this idea called Shanghai 5. उसमें Shanghai 5 में China is there and some central Asian countries are there, और उनको ऐड करके एक organization बना लेते हैं. And then eventually that organization evolves into this organization known as Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Fine. But what is the purpose again? To have peaceful Central Asian or every neighborhood. So first question comes that is it meeting its purpose? No, not at all. Why? Because अगेन इसको बड़े ध्यान से सुनना. बट आई हैव नोटिस ना कि मैक्सिमम जो पढ़ा रहे हैं दे आर लाइक एसईओ का एक वन ऑफ द एम्स इज एजुकेशन एंड literacy and IT and this and that. All these are superfluous ideas. The basic idea was to create security architecture. मेन आपने एसईओ क्यों बना रहे थे? सिक्योरिटी आर्किटेक्चर के लिए. सिक्योरिटी आर्किटेक्चर का मतलब क्या है? दैट पीसफुल आर्म स्ट्रगल नहीं हो रहा इधर. और उसमें हैज इट बीन सक्सेसफुल? नो. व्हाई? फर्स्ट एंड फॉरमोस्ट सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट, हाउ कैन यू से that it is meeting its purpose जब अफगानिस्तान में इतनी प्रॉब्लम चल रही है all this while? Unless China, Russia, India, Pakistan and all these countries commit themselves to this thing, peace in Afghanistan, SCO का तो कोई पर्पस मीट नहीं होता लग रहा. नंबर 1. नंबर 2 क्या है? जब 2001 में इसको बाद में इन्होंने सबसे पहले शंघाई इन्विजन किया एंड देन इसको प्रमोट कर दिया. अब जब इन्होंने किया है, ऐसा किया है, तो यूएसए इसको कैसे परसीव करता है? सेकंड पॉइंट, एससीओ को यूएसए इसको परसीव करता है एज एन ऑर्गेनाइजेशन व्हिच हैज इंडिया, व्हिच हैज चाइना, व्हिच हैज रशिया, व्हिच हैज दिस सेंट्रल एशियन कंट्रीज. सो दैट मींस यूएसए परसीव्स इट एज एंटी नेटो. ये एरिया आप नेटो को सेंट्रल एशिया में कवर करने के लिए आपने बनाया, तो यूएसए इज नॉट टू सपोर्टिव ऑफ दिस ऑर्गेनाइजेशन बट लाइक हुइबन केस राइट नाउ. अब है क्या? व्हाई इज दिस ऑर्गेनाइजेशन डिस्पाइट हैविंग स्ट्रॉन्ग मेंबर्स इज नॉट वर्किंग प्रॉपर्ली? बिकॉज देयर आर सम स्ट्रक्चरल प्रॉब्लम्स. व्हाट आर दोस? नंबर 1, सबसे पहली क्या है? Russia, which has been a power all this while, all these years, is uncomfortable with Chinese, rising Chinese status. How can you expect Russia to play a little role or a smaller role in an organization than China? कि यार आप छोटे हो and China बड़ा है, तो Russia is uncomfortable. To curtail rising Chinese status here in SCO, Russia started इंडिया के लिए कि इंडिया को भी एससीओ में लेके आते हैं। नाउ इंडिया के लिए उन्होंने स्टेटस वो शुरू किया, लॉबिंग शुरू की इन ऑर्डर टू कंटेन। नाउ इंडिया का स्टेटस चाइना ने बोलना शुरू किया पाकिस्तान को ले आते हैं साथ में। अब इन ऑर्डर टू पाकिस्तान को लाने के लिए ये अगेन एक आपने एक ऑर्गेनाइजेशन बना ली, यू हैव क्रिएटेड एन ऑर्गेनाइजेशन व्हिच इज पाकिस्तान, व्हिच इज इंडिया नॉट गेटिंग along you know much, and then you have China, then you have Russia, and then India is having problems with China and Russia, Pakistan both. तो ये ऑर्गेनाइजेशन से क्या निकलेगा? What all can you gain out of this organization? So recently there was this article in this magazine called The Diplomat, and it has talked about this thing as well, that India does not have much to gain from this because of structural problems. ढांचे में ही इतनी प्रॉब्लम है आपके कि इसमें से कुछ निकलेगा नहीं. Nonetheless, China thought that if we agree to India's induction in SCO, then India may join OBOR. चाइना एग्री कर गया, इंडिया मेंबर बन गया. अब जब इंडिया ने OBOR नहीं ज्वाइन किया, नाउ व्हाट हैपेंस? चाइना अगेन बिकम्स वेरी डोमिनेटिंग इन दिस थिंग SCO. सो इंडिया इज अ मेंबर देयर टू सी कि हाँ यार ये चाइना कोई रेजोल्यूशन ला रहा है जिसमें कोई बात सी बन नहीं रही. इट्स नॉट ऑल दैट pro India or pro peace at all. In fact, these resolutions are more about China than about Central Asia, peace in Central Asia. Then these countries जो हैं Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan and all these nations, they also have their internal problems. आपस में इन सब की आपस में एक ट्रस्ट डेफिसिट एग्जिस्ट करता है उज्बेकिस्तान, किर्गिस्तान, कजाकिस्तान में, तो इनका भी इशू चल रहा है. तो इसकी वजह से क्या हुआ है कि थोड़ा सा एससीओ जो है उसने अंडर परफॉर्म ही किया है. सो एक चीज जो है, व्हाई डिड इंडिया जॉइन दिस? बिकॉज हम एक टॉपिक करेंगे अफगानिस्तान बहुत डिटेल में. USA attacked Afghanistan, and when USA attacked Afghanistan, India provided support to USA, not in attacking, वो तो पाकिस्तानी अलाउ नहीं किया था, not in attacking, not militarily, but once USA was there in Afghanistan, India provided support, जैसे कि USA वहां पर कॉलेजेस खोलने, पार्लियामेंट बनाना, प्रो डेमोक्रेसी सपोर्ट प्रोवाइड करना शुरू कर दिया. बट अफगानिस्तान में टेररिज्म का रीइमर्जेंस हो गया. Taliban is re-emerging, and USA has realized that even after 15 years, no matter how hard USA tried to establish democracy there, Taliban is re-emerging and USA will have to go back. Now USA decides to leave Afghanistan and go back. But India has been very much engaged in Afghanistan supporting USA. So now what? USA has gone back and terrorists have reappeared in Afghanistan, and they'll be like, hey India, you were supporting USA all this while, so come now, we'll deal with you now. So India will lose an ally, India will lose investment, India will lose base in Afghanistan unless India protects and secure its interest in Afghanistan. Something like of this sort, some type of this kind of crisis may appear for India and Afghanistan. Now in order to have stable Afghanistan, USA तो चला गया, India joined SCO, hoping that China, Russia, Pakistan, India, all these nations will ensure peace, stability, or some kind of law and order, systematic law and order in Afghanistan. तो एक hope है, इंडिया के लिए important हो जाता है SCO का member बनना. But nonetheless, मतलब एक मेजर सिक्योरिटी आर्किटेक्चर इट अपीयर्स इन थ्योरी, बट आई वंडर इफ समथिंग कंक्रीट कैन कम आउट ऑफ इट फॉर इंडिया. अपने को प्रीलिम्स पर्सपेक्टिव से वी शुड नो कि ये है क्या SCO. इट्स अ सिक्योरिटी आर्किटेक्चर. व्हाट आर द मेंबर्स? दीज आर द मेंबर्स. वेयर इज इट बेस्ड? इससे पहले क्या था? शंघाई 5. एंड रिसेंट मीटिंग कहाँ पे हुई? इट वोंट हैव मच impact this year because all the maximum meetings are taking through video, are being taken, taking place through video conference. But इसका purpose क्या है? Mains के perspective से इसका analysis. As far as the mains perspective analysis is concerned, you shall get notes two, three pages I will give you, and that should be more than sufficient. So with this, we wind up this week's IR related current affairs. I'll see you on Friday with polity related current affairs, and on next Wednesday with another video of IR related current affairs. Thank you.